click that like button, subscribe to my channel. So, guys, a lot of times when we think about Michael Jordan, right, and we think about his greatness, and we think about the 6 championships, right, 6-0 in the NBA Finals, a lot of times what's not mentioned is how Michael Jordan never went to a Game 7, or why Michael Jordan was never pushed to a Game 7, right? Why his teams were never pushed to Game 7s in those finals. And it has nothing to do with the lack of competition or things like that. People will try to make it seem as if the Bulls dominated a weak era and things like that. The reason that the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan were never pushed to a Game 7 is due to Michael Jordan's greatness. In Game 6, if you go back, the Chicago Bulls played in, I believe, 5 Game 6s in the NBA Finals, right? The first championship they won in 5 games. The other NBA Finals they won were all 6 games, all went 6 games. And it was Michael Jordan's play in those Game 6s. That was the reason why they didn't go to a Game 7, right? When you look at the Game 6s, and you think about Michael Jordan's play in those Game 6s, it's nothing short of spectacular. And I got some numbers here that I thought were interesting as it pertains to Game 6 of the NBA Finals for the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan. And just bear with me here, guys. I got to look down at this stuff, all right? So, when we think about 1992, guys, right? 1992 was the first championship that would go 6 games, right? Against the Portland Trail Blazers. And in 1992, they won the championship in Game 6. I believe that it was a 4-point game. Right? They won by 4 points. And in that Game 6, Michael Jordan scored 33 points on 13 of 24 shooting. So he was over 50% shooting in 1992. Like I said, he scored 33 points. And the Bulls won by 4 points. And if you remember that game a little bit, Michael Jordan started off rough in that game, right? And Phil Jackson took him out. He brought the bench guys in, and they came in and they provided a bolt or a boost of energy, right? Scottie Pippen was out there with the second unit. Guys like Bob Hansen and Paxson, Cliff Livingston, these guys, Horace Grant, these guys were making big plays, contributions while Michael Jordan was on the bench. And then in the at the end of the game, Michael Jordan took over. And that's what I'm trying to show you guys. In Game 6 is Michael Jordan's dominance, right? His ability to take over the game and snatch, defeat or snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, or whatever they would say, is the reason why he was never pushed to a Game 7. So like I said, they won by 4 points. He scored 33 points in that game. And like I said, he dominated the fourth quarter of that game. Then when you think about 1993, it's crazy, guys. In 1993, Game 6, right, against the Phoenix Suns, they won by 1 point, guys. I don't know if you guys remember that, right? That was the shot that John Paxson hit, right? He hit that 3-pointer. They ended up winning by 1 point. Michael Jordan, once again, scored 33 points in that game, guys. He actually led the Bulls in scoring in that game. I believe he was second in rebounds, and he led the team in assists in that game. So he was number 1 in scoring, number 1 in assists, and second in rebounds for that game. Scoring 33 points again, just like he did the previous season, and the Bulls won by 1 point off a Paxson shot. However, what's really not mentioned a lot of times about that fourth quarter, before John Paxson hit that shot, guys, Michael Jordan was the only player on the Bulls to score in that fourth quarter. Think about that. Nobody else on the Chicago Bulls scored a single point in the fourth quarter besides Michael Jordan leading up to that John Paxson shot, guys. So it's really remarkable. Like I said, Michael Jordan dominating that game that they won by 1 point. Think about that. He had 33 points. They won by 1 point. He was the only player to score in the fourth quarter besides John Paxson's 3. So without Michael Jordan keeping them in that game in the fourth quarter, John Paxson's 3 would have meant nothing. So once again, Michael Jordan in Game 6, dominating, coming through late in the game, dominating the fourth quarter, not allowing a Game 7, right, guys? Now, when you think about 1996, Game 6. Now, the funny thing about 1996 Game 6 is that this was the only Game 6 that the Bulls won in the NBA Finals that was more than double digits. As a matter of fact, this was the only Game 6, I believe. I could be wrong, guys, but I believe it's the only Game 6 that the Bulls lost by more than 4, or the Bulls won by more than 4 points, I believe. So when you think about that, Game 6, right? The Bulls won by 12 points against the Seattle Supersonics. And if you remember that was one of the ugliest finals that the Chicago Bulls played, right? It was just an ugly finals. It was very sloppy after the Bulls had went up. I believe they were up 3-0. And those last couple of games, it just got really ugly. A lot of turnovers. Michael Jordan had probably one of his worst shooting finals of his career. And the funny thing was, like I said about that, is that the Bulls won handily, right? It wasn't a close Game 6. They won by 12 points. And Michael Jordan only scored 22 points. I believe he was like 5 of 18 or 5 of 19 from the field. Not impressive, but he did other things. In that game, Michael Jordan led the Bulls in scoring. He led them in assists, and he was second in rebounds in that game. So, you know, when you think about that, if Michael Jordan wasn't shooting great, he found other ways to impact the game, right? Other ways to contribute and dominate, not to mention his defense. And in that Game 6, like I said, it wasn't a close game score-wise, which is why they didn't really need Michael Jordan to dominate the fourth quarter in a manner like he does normally, right? Now, if we think about 1997, this is where things get interesting, guys. 1997, the Bulls won Game 6 by 4 points. And, you know, the average margin of victory in that 97 series, I believe, was 5 points. The Bulls, I think they won by an average of 5 points in that series. And we all know about the Game 1, Michael Jordan hitting the game-winning 3, right, in Game 1 of 1997. We all know about the flu game in 1997, right, in the previous Game 5. But in that Game 6, he came through with 39 points, guys. Came through with 39 points. He was like 15 of 32 shooting or something like that. But he led the team, listen to this, guys, in Game 6. He led the team in scoring, rebounds, and assists in that game, guys. Think about that. He led them in points, rebounds, and assists. And I believe he only had 1 turnover in that game, scoring 39 points in a game that they won by 4, dominating the fourth quarter like he normally does, Michael Jordan. So once again, Michael Jordan showing why he did not allow a Game 7 with the domination of Game 6 in 1997, right? And then when we think about 1998, guys, same thing. We all know about Game 6, 1998, right? They won by 1 point. Michael Jordan hits the game-winning shot, and in that game, he had 45 points, guys. And the interesting thing was, the same shooting numbers as Game 6 from 1997. I believe it was 15 of 35 in both of those Game 6s, guys. One game he scored 39 points, and in 1998 Game 6, he scored 45 points out of the Bulls' 87. So he had more than 50% of the Bulls' points. I mean, just remarkable, guys. Remarkable performance by Michael Jordan, getting the basket to bring them within 1, right? He had to do that quick score, right, to save time on the clock, score the layup, then come down and have a key steal. The steal of the game, the defensive play of the game was by Michael Jordan. And the crazy thing about that is he was able to get that steal from Karl Malone without fouling him, right? Without causing a foul. If he fouls Karl Malone there, the game's pretty much over, guys. Gets the steal, and then we all know he comes down and hits the final shot to beat the Jazz that year. So once again, Michael Jordan showing why he never went to a Game 7 by dominating the entire game, Game 6. Think about that. Scottie Pippen, I believe, played 27 minutes that game. He had the bad back. Remember, guys, he was in and out of the lineup. He had to go to the locker room a lot of times and get treatment on his back and then come back out. Michael Jordan's, I think, most consistent teammate that game, I think, was Tony Kukoc, if I remember correctly. So when you think about Michael Jordan having to dominate Game 6 without his best teammate, Pippen, being at 100% and really not being able to do anything but be a decoy out there, it really, you have to give Michael Jordan a lot of credit for that Game 6 at 35 years old also, man. I mean, it's remarkable, guys, the performance he put up in that Game 6, man. Like I said, willing his team to victory, dragging them on fumes. You guys have all seen the Last Dance documentary. It highlights that Game 6, man. It highlights that season alone, that he had to drag these guys, man. He had to drag them. And that's no knock on the Chicago Bulls and his teammates. It's just the way it was. Their age, the injuries, things were starting to pile up. All those long playoff runs, they started to add up for them. So when you think about Michael Jordan's greatness, man, like I said, those Game 6s, man, that he's played in, that's the reason why he never went to a Game 7. Because he was able to dominate Game 6s in a manner where, like, he treated it like it was a Game 7. I'm sure Michael Jordan in his mind realized that anything could happen in a Game 7. Let me not put myself and my team in that position. let me take this opportunity in game 6 to go out there and just win this game, man. And that's what he would do in the fourth quarters, man. He was a fourth quarter killer in those games, in those series, in those game 6s, man. So shout out to Michael Jordan, his greatness in game 6s being the reason why the Bulls were able to never face a game 7 in the NBA Finals. I mean, like I said, guys, just think about what I just said, guys. In the games that he was in those game 6s, man, he always led the team in scoring. He was usually leading the team in assists in those games. And if he wasn't leading the team in rebounds, he was second in rebounds. I mean, most of those games led the team in steals. He had the fewest turnovers. I mean, just remarkable, man. Just remarkable stuff from Michael Jordan in game 6, man. So shout out to Michael Jordan. The greatness in game 6 is never allowing a Finals to go to game 7.